Hey guys! Today I'll be answering the most frequently asked question. Today we're going to talk about how to start a business in Japan. Yay! And we have a guest.
Hey guys, I'm Jasmine. I moved to Japan 6 years ago and I started my own English conversation class 3 years ago.
I'm sure you guys have tons of questions for her, so feel free to leave any questions down in the comment sections. And of course, I'll be interviewing her later in this video. But first, I think we all need to have the basic information about the topic. So last night I did a little bit of research, more like a lot of research. Yeah. It was so difficult to understand. I'm gonna be probably reading a lot today. I have a cheat sheet. So first of all, you need to understand the difference between establishing a company and getting a visa to stay in Japan are completely separate things. If you're only planning on starting a company in Japan and not planning on staying in Japan, you don't have to get the visa, if that makes sense.
It's a little strange, but
Yeah, if you have like a Japanese person who can actually run the business from Japan,
okay.
and then you live in outside of Japan, that means you have to go through the paperwork to, establish the company, but you don't need the visa.
Because you're living abroad,
Right.
not in Japan.
Right.
Okay.
So it's kind of tricky. The very first thing you have to do is build your company, and then, only then, you can apply for the visa.
Okay. That's if you want to start a business in Japan.
Japan.
So you are going to actually be living in Japan.
Yes.
Okay.
If you don't live in Japan, then you don't have to worry about the visa.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very
Oh, it's so
confusing. It's confusing.
Okay, so starting a business in Japan, you need to start your company first
Yes.
and then apply for the visa.
Yeah. So if your
That's so
application
risky.
form
Yeah.
for the visa is denied, and then your company is basically
Yeah.
done. So it's kind of risky.
Yeah, it's very,
So we're going to talk about
very
something very
risky.
risky. That being said, let's talk about how to start your company first. Then we're going to talk about the visa thing.
Alright.
So in order to build your own company in Japan, you need 3 things. 1, money and Japanese bank account. And 2, an office. And 3, CEO and other executives notarized documents. Proof.
Of yourself?
Yeah, kind of like that, but kind of
Okay,
like that.
yeah.
Notarized documents.
So like if you're a visitor,
Yeah.
can you open a bank account in Japan?
No.
No.
If you're a foreigner who don't have home address in Japan,
Yeah.
you cannot open a bank account.
I need proof that I live in Japan, and it was easy to open my first bank account.
Okay.
But if I want multiple, it will be a little difficult.
Because you need to have your personal bank account and then for the
Yeah.
company
Yeah.
business bank
Mhm.
account, right? So then they get suspicious. What are you gonna
They'll be
do?
like, what are you doing? Where are you gonna receive the money? Why are you opening this bank account? And all questions are in Japanese, by the way. They do not ask you in English.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And all the paperwork is Japanese,
In
right?
Japanese, yeah.
So you have to be able to read and write,
Yeah.
and of course talk. If you are lucky enough to have a Japanese friend or a relative who live in Japan and who can open a bank account for you,
Okay.
I think it has to be under their names. Because
yeah.
you have to show your ID and stuff, right? And then, but you can send your money into their bank account, and then later on, you can change it or something like that.
What if I don't know anyone in Japan?
There are some companies who offer you a Japanese person. I don't know if it's legit company, but
Is it called daidini, maybe?
yeah, something like that. And then
Yeah.
it's kind of work the same way. Like if you are asking your friend to do so, but since you don't know anyone in Japan, you can hire them.
Yeah.
And then the Japanese person can open up a bank account for you, and then it has to be under their names. So that's the
Okay.
tricky part.
Their name, as in, would it be the company's name?
No.
So it's actually that
the person's name. Because first they're gonna open up a personal bank account,
Okay.
and then they're gonna change it to a corporation bank account.
Okay.
Yeah, so that means at that point you are not the CEO.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The Japanese person is CEO, so you guys are kind of like co-CEOs.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's what I mean. It's like then like the Japanese person could steal
I know.
the company, but you know,
Yeah, that's like weird. Would they have access to the bank account?
yeah, of course. So if you are going to find those companies, make sure you read the whole contract
Yeah.
before you sign it.
I think so.
So
And-
I'm not taking any responsibilities here.
That's the case, like if you actually don't know anyone,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
that's like maybe your last resort.
Yes.
Is opening the bank account. Yeah. How about the office? Like if I want to start a business, how can I get the address?
This is also easier if you know somebody, right?
Yeah.
And then you can ask the friend like, hey, I need like a very small place, like cheap place, just
Yeah.
for address.
Mhm.
But if you don't know anyone, same thing. There's a company who can just give you a virtual office.
Okay. Yeah.
So there is no like physical location for this office, but
There's an address.
this is also tricky.
Uh-huh.
You can only use this virtual office for like establishing a new business in Japan documents, paperwork,
okay.
but not for the visa.
Okay. So it cannot be your home address.
No.
Okay.
And then like if you have a place to live already, you cannot use the home address as your business address. You have to have a separate places.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's even more trickier. You have to have a third place if you are open a shop. So shop,
okay.
your home, and the business office has to be all separate.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like I'm letting people down by talking about this.
Don't worry, so many people are willing to help in Japan, so yeah.
Yeah.
Don't get discouraged. Speaking of which, what kind of visa do you have to get?
If you have a spouse of Japanese / permanent residents and related visas, just like you, there's no limit what you can do in Japan. So you don't have to worry about the visa at all. If that's not the case, you have to apply for investor / business investor / business manager visa is a long.
What do you need to apply for the visa?
For the most case, when you're applying for this visa for the first time, you need two things. One, an office with a physical address, like a location. So
Okay.
it cannot be a virtual office, like I said before. Number two will be 2 employees who live in Japan.
Okay.
Yeah. Or have 5 million yen. So like $50,000 in the Japanese bank account that you just made.
Okay. Or like yourself, right? Like you need 50,000.
Yeah. But you have to
Yen.
prove that you have the $50,000 in the Japanese bank account.
Okay. 5万円, right? No.
500万.
500万. Okay. Excuse me. Scratch that. Once we get the visa, how long can we stay in Japan with it?
There are 5 kinds of visas. 3 months, 4 months, 1 year, 3 years, and 5 years. But seems like usually people get just 1 year visa.
Oh, really?
It's
Okay.
almost impossible to get like 3 or 5 years. You can't do anything with like
Yeah.
1 year. Somebody asked me on Twitter something related to this question. Like how long in advance do they have to come to Japan to prep for the company?
Okay, yeah.
And we kind of discussed before start shooting this video, but the order is start a company and then you have to prove that you have a company in order to apply for the visa. So technically you cannot come to Japan to prep for building your company, if that makes sense.
It's strange.
It is strange.
Yeah.
So it's not like how long in advance you have to come in. It's more like you cannot come at all.
Yeah. You need everything prepared before you come and apply for the visa.
Yes.
And do we have to fill out a lot of forms?
Yes. 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 So much yes.
Will all the forms be in Japanese?
Yes.
There's some English, right? But
I think so.
I don't think there are forms that are completely in English though.
Mm.
Yeah. There'd be like some English parts and then a Japanese part. You'll get a little lost and then go back to an English part.
Right.
Yeah. So that again is another difficulty.
Yeah.
How do you renew your visa?
Yes. So since the visa lasts only like a year, you kind of have to renew your visa every single year.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah.
Will you get the same amount of visa? Like, say, like the first year you get 1 year, and then the next time you renew it, will it be another year again? Like, can't you get like added years, like 3 years, 5 years?
If you're lucky.
Oh wow.
If your business is doing super duper good, and then they will allow you to have like 3 years, 5 years, but usually you just get 1 year visa. But that's the basic information about how to start a business in Japan as a foreigner. But since we have Jasmine today, I'll ask some questions, more like personal questions.
All right.
But before we start, I just wanted to make it clear that you're half Japan. Yeah, Japan. You're half Japanese.
Yeah, I'm half Japanese. So my mom's Japanese and my father is Canadian, but I do have Canadian citizenship. So I am here on a family visa.
So the situation may be different, a lot different, I think.
A lot different and a lot easier for my case because I did have a family member who was Japanese, and that helped me a lot when I was applying for my visa.
Did you grew up in Japan, or you entirely grew up in Canada?
Until I was 13, maybe. Like, I grew up in Hong Kong, Singapore. I lived 2 years in Yokohama in Japan. But the last 10 years, like junior high, high school, and university, I lived in Vancouver.
And then did you come to Japan right after you graduated from college?
Yep. So I graduated in September. In October, I was like, bye family. I came to Japan. But since I needed help applying for my visa, my mom came with me for the first 3 weeks, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, and we had all the documents ready, so I applied for my visa, and I received it within a week. So
that's quick.
Yeah, that was quick. Yeah.
So did you apply your visa in Japan?
In Japan. Yeah.
That's interesting.
So I guess I don't have a Japanese passport.
Right.
And I'm Canadian, so I could only be in Japan for 3 months, like a visiting period, right? So within that 3 months, I had to get an address, apply for a visa, open a bank account, and it helped me a lot if I had hanko, which is like a name stamp. Yeah, because you need that to open a bank account.
Right.
And any kind of documents you want to get processed, you need that stamp.
But your last name is Japanese, so it's easier for you to get the hanko, right?
Hanko, yeah, a little easier.
Okay.
So what's interesting is my name is really long. Like I have a middle name and everything, but when I came to Japan, I got this shortened name.
Okay.
Which is just my mother's maiden name and my name. So it's like Otsuka Jasmine. And with an official stamp. So if your name is really long, or like you want a special name in Japan, you can go to the office and get it shortened. Yeah, and that made it easier for me to like do anything.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Because I don't want like my full name, Jasmine Momoko Otsuka Code. I don't want that in like writing everything. Right?
Where did you come to Matsuyama?
Oh, okay. So my mother is from Matsuyama. So I do have my cousins, my aunts, uncles. I do have relatives living in Matsuyama. So if I'm coming alone, it's just a comfort thing.
Right.
To have someone that's able to help me. My main goal was to come to Japan. So I did not have a job risky. Don't ever do that. Yeah, I came to Japan and I was like, yay! 3 days later, shoot, what should I do? Okay, so after that, I started looking for jobs. Like, eikaiwa, like teaching English was like a quick part-time job thing that you could look for.
Yeah.
Because lots of places were looking for teachers. So
Especially here.
especially in Matsuyama, or like the countryside suburban areas. Yeah, they want a lot of English speakers, like native speakers.
Right.
So the first 3 years of staying in Japan, I worked for a company, but I found that we had to follow textbooks a lot, because that's, I think, the most common way to teach English in Japan. The actual speaking part and interacting with all the like foreign visitors is, there's not a whole lot of chance to do that, and that's why I decided to start my own business and practice the actual interaction part, role playing, to be more comfortable approaching someone, like foreigners. Yeah.
That's one of the benefits of running your own business, right? You can like, you have full control.
Yeah. Total control. Yeah, so for 3 years I've been running my business, and I am getting good feedback. It's fun though, like you get to make your own classes. If someone is struggling with one part, I get to teach them and help them to improve that part. So it's not like a class, come in, go home. It's more like one-on-one, building like a relationship with your students and the community actually.
Yeah,
That's nice. Yeah. The part I found the most difficult is all the emails, and like my mom's Japanese, so I can speak Japanese fine, but when it comes to like keigo, sonkeigo, that's like a whole different level of Japanese. Like reading emails and talking like business talk was so difficult for me. This is a little off topic, but JLPT, I have level 1, which is good. Like if you're considering coming to Japan, like take any kind of test, get a certification, and it will help you a lot. So yeah, going back, I had that, so I felt confident.
Yeah.
But the email, like, yeah.
That's another story.
Yeah, another story. Like, for example, you have to write like, "osewa ni narimasu," and I don't even know how to translate that in English. It's like, "Thanks for working with me."
That's just like one of the greetings that we just put in anyway.
So you need that. It's not like, "Hi, this is blah 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 blah."
Right.
You need like a whole different sentence.
And also like all the paperwork, like you have to pay the tax and everything.
Yep.
So those paperwork doesn't translate it in English, right?
No, it's completely in Japanese. So I do have a co-owner, like running my business together. He helps me out with all the like the hard Japanese stuff. So if you have a Japanese speaker that can work with you, that helps you a lot with the documents and like any kind of things that you have trouble in.
Right.
Yeah.
Because like even for a Japanese person, sometimes you have to look up the words and like have to ask someone who knows about taxes and whatnot to like completely understand what it means. So I think for non-native speakers and the non-native Japanese speakers, that will be very challenging.
Yeah, but always remember there's lots of help. Like living in Japan is so nice because like everyone is so willing to help you. So just ask anyone. You can go to like officials, ask a friend. Like lots of friends will help you.
Yeah, like that will be like easy solution. I think you can just like go up to like make friends and then say like I can give you like this much money for like part-time like a part-time job and like can you fill out this form kind of thing. So yeah, there's lots of ways to do that. But speaking of the taxes and whatnot, sometimes Japan is like interesting weird country. Is there any like taxes like foreigner tax?
I don't believe so. Like, I've never had to pay a foreigner's tax. tax.
Alright, so what kind of taxes do you pay regularly?
I do pay residence tax, income tax.
I think it's same for me.
Yeah.
Income tax
Yeah,
and
it's
residence
not-
tax, so
yeah.
nothing special. But your company is not corporation,
No.
right? So you're
I'm self-employed.
okay.
Yeah.
So, but for you guys, if you ever start a business in Japan, you cannot be self-employed. You have to build a corporation. That's a different story. On top of those two taxes that we just talked about, your company have to pay corporate tax, which is very expensive. Since we are answering some questions from Twitter, there's another question. The question was like, is it better to have your own company to apply for the citizenship?
It might help that because like having your own company and paying taxes is a proof of like helping Japan.
True.
So maybe it does help having a business, maybe like being married to a Japanese person, like living in Japan for more than 10 years, long-term residence might help, but
Yeah, there's no like this is it.
yeah, I don't think there's a like strict outline for that.
No. But like, I don't know, like the downside of getting Japanese citizenship is that you have to give up your own.
Yeah.
You can keep both.
Personally, in my opinion, like you don't really have to change to a Japanese citizenship. Like
Yeah.
as long as you have a visa. The only thing is you don't have the right to vote
Right,
in Japan.
right.
But everything else is the same as like a Japanese person.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have no problem being Canadian.
I mean, like, you can go for like permanent residence if you
Oh, yeah.
are living in Japan for
Yeah.
like 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
But the permanent residence doesn't mean that you can vote either. So it's basically like if you want to vote or
Yeah,
not.
If you want to vote, then you can get a Japanese citizenship.
Yeah. But for the permanent residence, you can keep your Canadian citizenship.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I think if you live in Japan for long, then I think aim for
The permanent
residence and then
Yeah.
keep your own. I think
I think
that's my personal opinion.
yeah, mine too. Like I would keep my
But yeah.
Canadian citizenship. So like we talked about a lot, and please don't feel discouraged. You can get a lot of help in Japan, and it is a fantastic place. There's lots of things to do. Even in the Inaka side, it's really fun. Try living in Japan,
Yeah.
and then see if you like it or not. The difficult part is only like, what, 1 week or 2 weeks.
Yeah.
The application is difficult, but there's lots of help. So
Yeah, just try it.
Yeah, just try it.
If you feel like it, just try it.
I liked it. I live here for 6 years now, and I want to apply for a permanent resident. That's how much I like it. So I do recommend coming to Japan.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
And if you have further questions, please leave them down below, and probably Jasmine's gonna answer the questions.
Yeah.
Can you?
Me.
All right.
As best as possible. I will.
Well, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.